Every ranked game is broken down into 3 different parts: off-spawn, mid-game, and most importantly, endgame. So today I'm going to teach all of you how to perfectly play each part of the game so that you can consistently win more games and most importantly, rank up. So if you guys do enjoy, make sure you are subscribed. But now onto the first stage of ranked, off-spawn. Now, off-spawn is going to be different for every player. For example, if you're a really good player, you should be taking advantage of that. You should be W King off-spawn, landing somewhere like the dojo so that you get the max amount of loot and you have great rotation. But if you're not a good player, obviously you should stick to landing at somewhere more low-key so you can get your loot up and then rotate in. But no matter what drop spot you go to, you should always have a plan of what you're going to do at that drop. For example, every single time I land at the dojo to get the mythic SMG, I always land at this building because it has 1 elemental chest spawn, 2 normal chest spawns, 1 right here and then 1 right here, and most importantly 3 barrels, and then all of these little fruit boxes. And that means that I'm going to have great HP going into any fight I want. And the majority of the time, off-spawn fights could be 50-50 because you don't have a lot of mats, and having that health advantage is going to make winning fights significantly easier. Moving on from your plan, let's talk about your loadout, because your loot and your loadout is going to determine how you play your off-spawn. Right here, I pick up this pump, and that means that I have a full fighting loadout ready to go for off-spawn. And instead of letting the player in front of me, the little red guy, loot up, I push him instantly. The reason for this is the other player has a disadvantage right now because I have a really good loadout, and that means that I shouldn't let him loot up and get all of his mats and his ammo up. I should push him now so he's at a disadvantage and I have an advantage. And this leads into my next off-spawn tip, which is your peaks and your angles. They are everything off-spawn because you don't have a lot of mats to burn, so taking the proper angles and the proper peaks is very necessary. Like right here, this player pushes me and I make a simple window edit, but it's not just a window edit. I swing to my left as the other player swings to his left. This means that I'm able to get a shot off and I'm able to swing away from his crosshair. Notice how he shoots, but if we were to look at his POV, as you can see, he couldn't see me at all, and that peak was perfect because I didn't take damage while doing damage. And then again, this player backs up, I make a wide edit, and I'm able to take a good angle. Notice how from this right hand peak, I'm able to spray all of these players' builds, and notice when he tries to bloom battle me back, the angle that he has is really difficult to hit me from. Notice how I'm spraying and I'm hugging the wall so that he can't do any damage while I'm doing damage. And that means that I'm going to obviously win that fight and pick up a simple elimination off spawn just because I took good angles. I literally only used 1 or 2 builds there and I was able to win the fight. Moving on from off-spawn, let's talk about mid-game, especially fighting. Now, fights in mid-game are basically inevitable. Now, when you're in these mid-game fights, if you can't avoid them, obviously, you need to understand that creating space is everything. Notice how I see this player right here pushing me, and he tries to instantly spray on my wall. As soon as I see that, I go and make an entire brick box behind that box. This means that I have this entire box to myself and this one, and that means that I can play in this box while having control of this one. And this player doesn't realize that I backed up and created space, so he walks right into my builds, and he can't build anything because everything's mine. So he literally has nowhere to go, and then I can just get a 1 pump off and then finish off this fight. Now, after I do pick up this kill, notice exactly what I do right after I pick up the kill. I get the kill, instantly grab the mats, and I build out and make more space. I don't instantly heal, I build around me, and then I heal, because third parties are always going to happen. Imagine I didn't build and I was weak on HP. This player sees me, sprays me, I die. So make sure right after you get the kill, you make a ton of space so that no players can push you. Now, fights in mid-game are basically inevitable. Sometimes you just can't avoid them because you're rotating to zone and you're going to have to fight other players. But the reason you have to fight so many players is look at the zone right here and look at where I am. When zone pulls deep into a corner of a map, that means that all of these locations, Brutal Boxcars, Seaport City, all of the players from these locations are going to be pushed out of there and they have to all converge into this area. And that means that you're going to find the majority of the players in the lobby in this area. So if you're a great W here and you want to fight people, you can obviously go into here and obviously you're going to be able to fight people. Now, one big problem with players is that they get too invested in a mid-game fight and they don't know when to disengage from a fight, and understand that it's okay. You don't always have to just keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. It's fine to take a second, breathe, understand where you are, and realize this isn't a good fight. Right here, this player is pushing me, and I know he has health advantage over me. So I'm going to eventually leave this fight. Notice how I start spraying this player, and then after I crack him, I realize that he has all of this space to build back into. He's popping big pots. I know he's got full HP. So I decide that, you know what, I'm just going to throw my orb, and I'm going to leave. But I'm going to bait out that I'm leaving. Notice what I'm going to do. I throw my orb right over this bush. in case he sees it, so he knows that I left, and I instantly 180 and I run up into this bush. And now since I baited this player to now push me, I can get a big hit of opening damage, returning me on the advantage because I didn't have health advantage before, but now I have it. So after I push this player, I don't give him a chance to breathe, and I'm able to get into his box and pick up a kill just because I was a little bit smart about the way I approached the fight. So make sure you're doing things like this to survive in mid game. Moving on from mid game, let's talk about end game and how to consistently win games. Now, the two main things you need to focus on in endgame is the timing of your rotates and your positioning, because those two things above all will always guarantee you that you have the best chance of winning. Now, timing a rotate perfectly, in my opinion, is all about distractions. You want the other players in the lobby to be distracted. For example, zone is pulling right to where all of these three players are, and you're going to notice that all of these players are now fighting or they're distracted in some way or another, and that means that this is a great time to rotate. Notice as soon as I see them fighting, I edit my top and I instantly go and I rotate onto low ground in a good position where I know I'm not going to shot. I then switch to my brick and I put myself in a good position, and I know zone's pulling through this building, so I don't want to have to go through it. So I build over to the right, I block my walls off so that he can't shoot me through a window or anything like that, and I'm going to get myself in a great position for the next rotation. Now, after securing high ground in a different location, you're going to notice that this is going to get really congested on high ground, and I'm going to have to start to fight this player. But you're going to notice zone is pulling over this water. If I drag out this fight for too long, we're both going to burn all of our mats, and then either one of us who wins will still lose because we'll have no mats. So I realized the fight isn't worth it. So I just edit out my wall and I look where I need to go, because if I can just get to zone early, I'm going to have a way easier time for the next rotate. So I just throw my orb. I get myself stuck in zone a little bit, but that is okay because I get myself to the front of zone, and I'd rather get in a good position and lose 10 HP than be stuck back up here, burning all of these mats to waterfall down. Now, since I've gotten myself in such a great position after that rotation, you're going to notice all the other three players are on this side of zone. I've separated myself and I basically just cut the zone in half. Imagine the zone is cut in half right here. I draw a line in between. This is what you want to do so that you can see everything in front of you. Imagine you are in the center of the zone box up here. You have to look in every direction where every player is. But if you go to the end of zone or you go to the front of zone first, you get to see everyone before they get to see you. And that actually allows me to win the game. Notice how I wait a second and I don't land in the water so I can't get sprayed. And I just put myself in a good position while all the other players are distracted fighting. And this means that I don't even have to use my shotgun, and I can simply just spray all of them to death. I spray this guy right here. This other player's late in zone, and I spray him, and I pick myself up a free win. So if you want to win games, you need to focus on your timing of your rotations, and most importantly, your positioning. Another very small tip for a lot of players, the little things are going to matter. Like, for example, when you're on low HP like I am here, looking for extra meds. I know that the train just passed and I see a med kit and I go get it. And that means that, as you can see by my HP, I get all the way back up to full health, and that means that I can go into this game confident. Or, for example, right here, as you can see, I'm in the last few zones and I'm basically out of mats, so I take some time, distance myself from the rest of the lobby, and I farm a few trees. Now, that may seem like a really small detail to mention, but as you can see, with those extra wood that I've farmed, I get to block my opponent's shot, and I actually get to take high ground on my opponent, and this means that I win the game just because I had a little bit more mats than my opponent. So make sure that you're thinking about the small details when you're going into an end game. That's going to wrap up this video. If you guys did enjoy, make sure you are subscribed. And if you want to see more, go check out my full fighting guide. But with that, I'm out. Peace.